Hi, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and you've probably already heard, but Marshon Lattimore will start versus the Saints. Not only will he play, but he will start versus the Saints. We're going to break down all of that. Also, we're going to take a look at what Marshon Lattimore had to say about his former team. Apparently, he's extra motivated for some revenge. I'm going to show you the exact clips and quotes of that. Also, KJ Osborne will reportedly be available immediately. Also, we have a Commanders kicker curse going on right now, and we have an offensive tackle conundrum. We're going to dive into all of that along with the full-time injury report for both the Commanders and Saints sides of the game. And this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And before we dive into everything, make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, and stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content, and of course I will be live streaming this upcoming game against the Saints, all 4 quarters and everything, so make sure you pull up tomorrow for that. And I'm assuming we will win, so we should be holding a victory call-in show immediately afterwards as well, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so we're going to start with Marshon Lattimore. Like I said, I try my best to avoid like trying to clickbait y'all or anything like that, and I'm assuming most people are pulling up for Marshon Lattimore, so we will talk about Marshon Lattimore first. Again, like I said before the intro, cornerback Marshon Lattimore will make his debut on Sunday versus the Saints. But not only that, not only will he play, but it's already being reported by Dan Quinn himself that Marshon Lattimore will start versus the New Orleans Saints as well. He's going out there immediately, and I'm assuming just X's and O's wise, it will be Marshon Lattimore as one outside corner, Mike Sainristil as the other outside corner, and then Noah Benogany as your starting slot corner, and then Benjamin St-Juste will be a part of the rotation. Pretty much, he'll come into the game as often as Michael Davis has. Like, everybody's just going to basically move down one spot on the depth chart, and now, well, except for really the only person untouched is Noah Benogany because he's a slot corner. Everybody else is just a bunch of outside corners. Even though Mike Sainristil maybe ultimately, like, and this is something we could talk about as we get later on in the season or when we start to get to the offseason, maybe they still want to draft or bring in a top tier outside corner, maybe like a DJ Reed in free agency, who clearly wanted to join the Washington Commanders, but I'm not going to dive into that right now because this video is already going to be long enough, and we're already off topic from the whole Marshon Lattimore thing anyway. But either way, I feel like ultimately maybe they do want to move Mike Sainristil back into the slot and then get another really good outside corner, whether through the free agency, DJ Reed, or maybe we draft a guy late in the first round, because I'm expecting us to be drafting very late because I'm expecting us to win at least a playoff game or two. I'm just trying to speak it into existence. But either way, right now, Marshon Lattimore moves everybody down the depth chart, including Mike Sainristil. He goes from our best corner to now our second best corner, and then Benjamin St-Juste goes from cornerback 2, originally cornerback 1 to start the season, now down to outside corner 3, technically overall corner 4. So that's just how that's going to go. He'll see the field probably, but it'll be pretty sparingly, and it'll probably be against specific matchups like taller receivers. But even then, I mean, he allowed the game-winning touchdown against a tall, slow receiver in Mike Williams against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if there were any receiver I thought that Benjamin St-Juste could cover consistently, I thought it would be him, and he couldn't even do that. So I don't know. We'll see. Either way, though, again, Dan Quinn confirmed that Marshon Lattimore will make his debut and start against the Saints, and he even said, quote, "We're just pumped to have him back," unquote. And I don't know why people keep saying back. Even Dan Quinn is saying back, and we never had him. What do you mean have him back? You've never had him, no matter where you've been in your coaching career, and the Commanders have never had him. So I just always thought that was interesting and funny every time somebody said back, because never at any point did we have a Marshon Lattimore in any way possible. We probably would have an extra win or two if we did, against especially the Steelers specifically. Also, Marshon Lattimore said that he will have some extra motivation to face the Saints on Sunday. As he pointed out, they are the team that traded him. If you want the exact clips right here, I have 2 clips of him talking about it. He seems very motivated, like he's going to go out there and give it like his 110% against the Saints. Here are the clips right here.
Does it mean something though to have that debut against the Saints?
Of course. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it didn't, you know. Cause, you know, it's like they traded me away, and, you know, I'm going back to show them, you know, why they shouldn't have. You know, I'm happy where I'm at, but you know how I be, you know. Extra motivation for the game, that's all.
I'm sorry, I don't know about y'all, But to me, that looks like a guy that is going to go out there and lay it all on the line against his former team. He's trying to make a statement. You even had Cameron Jordan of the Saints, like once they told him, he realized that, oh, Marshon Lattimore will play against y'all and start against y'all. He was like, oh man, why? He was like joking and laughing, but he was like, why us, man? Of course it's us. Of course he waits to play until he plays us, and he makes sure that he makes his debut against us and things like that. So even Saints players are like, oh my Lord, we know how Marshon Lattimore gets, and when he's motivated, Lord have mercy. So basically, I'm saying all of that to say, and I gave you those clips to tell y'all as Commanders fans, be ready. Expect greatness out of Marshon Lattimore. Even if he doesn't fully understand the defense, even if the defense doesn't fully understand how to utilize him yet and put him in the best situations to succeed as much and as often as possible, I'm expecting that guy to go out there and give it 110%, and that should be enough for us to definitely win this game and for him to make this defense better specifically. Now, moving on, we have KJ Osborn, and just, I mean, I'm still working on a whole video breaking down like how KJ Osborn is going to help this offense and everything like that. So stay tuned for that. But first up, right now, KJ Osborn is announced that he will be available against the Saints this upcoming game. That was said by, I believe, maybe Cliff Kingsbury or Dan Quinn or something like that. Either way, KJ Osborn, reported by Zach Selby, will be available to play against the Saints, but they're still focused on getting him up to speed right now. So I do want to make sure we take a step back and remember, after we signed Noah Brown didn't play in his first game of the season until like technically the second one. Like, he didn't play in the first one against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then he barely played in that second game against the New York Giants. So it wasn't until like the third game that he actually started to play like a meaningful amount of snaps to where he was able to even really impact the game. So I'm curious to see how long it will take KJ Osborn to learn the offense enough for them to feel comfortable enough to allow him to actually play in a game and have an impact. Will it be next week against the Eagles, or will it be the game after that against them sorry little Falcons? Either way, I'm assuming he won't play much against the New Orleans Saints, if at all. Just to give you the heads up. So they're saying that he's available. I'm not trying to clickbait y'all. They said he's available, but I'm letting you know right now, leading up to this game, before the game even happens, it's Saturday, the game is tomorrow, Sunday. If you don't see KJ Osborn much, I want you to know exactly why. Don't even brace yourself to see KJ Osborn go out there and have like a coming out party or something like that. Like, don't expect much from him. It's going to be nice to have him on the team, but this is probably just a game that he's going to have to go out there and learn the offense, and then we'll start to actually utilize him for real. So regardless of what Dan Quinn or Cliff Kingsbury is saying right now, do not get your hopes up too high. Now let's dive into the full injury report. As you can see on the screen right now, we can start with the Saints side. Linebacker DeMarco Jackson and wide receiver Bub Means are both announced as out. Derek Carr is somehow doubtful, but we know he's not playing. And then even like the defensive lineman to know, with his Achilles injury, he's questionable. He's been a full participant all week, but I mean, I'm not even sure if he plays. And then even Alvin Kamara, he's good to go. He's not even questionable, but he had a serious illness that made him miss practice Wednesday and Thursday, so maybe he's not 100%. And then we already know that a lot of their best players are already gone, like on the injured reserve, like Taysom Hill and Chris Olave and their both of their top receivers and things like that. So they are a very banged up team. The injury report does not show the full story because a lot of their players, a lot of their starters that are severely hurt and have no chance of playing on the injured reserve, and injured reserve players don't even appear here. Then going to the Commander side, Noah Brown is officially listed as out, and then everybody else is either questionable or good to go. Kicker Zane Gonzalez is questionable. We're going to talk about that. Jamison Crowder is questionable, even though he's participated fully in practice all week, but that just goes to show when somebody's returning from the injured reserve and they're in the 21-day practice window, we never absolutely know until like the actual game time if that guy's gonna play. And then Daron Payne, he was good to go until suddenly yesterday, Friday, December 13th, some back injury came up out of nowhere, and now he's even questionable. So like I did in my video yesterday, we got good news about Jonathan Allen, and then suddenly bad news about Daron Payne. Lord have mercy. And And then again, everybody else is a good to go. Even Cleveland Farrell, who's typically limited, good to go. Zach Ertz is gonna miss Wednesday practice every game all season. That's just how that been. And then everybody else, even Quan Martin, limited, and then suddenly full, good to go. And everybody else, a full weeks of full practice, and most notably Marshon Lattimore, great to go. So I'm really excited about that. Now let's dive into every little specific thing that I feel like is worth pointing out. Like Noah Brown, if you notice, his injury said kidney. That's interesting. Dan Quinn spoke with a degree of concern about his initial diagnosis, but said that the receiver is basically good now. So they were worried about it being even worse than something football related. Like football wise, they already said they're not really expecting him to play again this season necessarily. If they do, hey, that's a positive surprise, similar to Jonathan Allen right now. You're as likely to see Noah Brown as you are to see Jonathan Allen. But the reason that they're speaking so positively about Noah Brown is because they were thinking that the injury was worse than what it ended up actually even being. It's a kidney injury, but they thought it was something maybe even potentially life-threatening. Also, wait a minute. I mean, even now the backup kicker is hurt now. I mean, we signed Brandon McManus. Then he had off the field issues. Then we had 2 or 3 different starting kickers throughout the offseason practices, like training camp and things like that. Then we had K. York, who ended up being horrible week 1. Then Austin Seibert, who just went to the injury reserve recently. And now even Zane Gonzalez is banged up a little bit. We can't catch a break when it comes to kickers this year, man. I mean, Lord had mercy. So the Commanders just yesterday went and signed kicker Greg Joseph to the practice squad and released wide receiver Michael Strahan, just to let you know, give you y'all that update. But it seems like kicker Zane Gonzalez's left foot issue is something that we definitely need to be concerned about and stay aware of. It's not like we signed Greg Joseph to the 53-man roster like he's going to play against the Saints, but that's definitely something to keep in mind right there. There's a reason we signed him to the practice squad. Well, Dan Quinn said that Zane Gonzalez showed up on the injury report with a left foot injury on Wednesday, so they brought Greg Joseph in for a workout. Then Gonzalez was a full go yesterday in practice, which as in Thursday, and then he was also a full go yesterday as in Friday, but they wanted to protect the team by adding another kicker to the practice squad, so maybe it's something we don't necessarily have to worry about, but it's still Lord have mercy. And even Dan Quinn went out of the way in his press conference yesterday to credit Assistant General Manager Lance Newmark with keeping up with available kickers, as Washington has had to sign 7 so far this year. 7 of them since March. Brandon McManus, then Ramiz Ahmed, Riley Patterson, K. York, Austin Seibert, Zane Gonzalez, and now Greg Joseph. Most teams in the NFL have only had to worry about 1 kicker all season. We are now on our 7th if Greg Joseph even has to step onto the field for us. That is absolutely insane. Now moving on, in other injury news, Andrew Wiley was also back in full all week in practice this week, and I feel like that's really noteworthy because that's good news in general. I mean, players returning from injuries is always good news because if anything, at least we have more depth on the team at that respective position. But in this situation, we're talking about a starter returning after missing a couple of games. But here lies the conundrum. Should the returning starting right tackle start again? Because this is a classic case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, maybe, because the offensive line looks really good against a really good defensive line in the Tennessee Titans when Cornelius Lucas was starting the right tackle for us a couple of weeks ago. So do we just ignore how good the offensive line looked in the sake of loyalty? And of course, we don't just blindly believe Pro Football Focus ratings and rankings, but when you're taking a look, Cornelius Lucas is ranked the 27th best offensive tackle in the NFL out of 81 offensive tackles with a 73.6 overall grade. You have Brandon Coleman 55th with a 63.4 overall grade. You have Andrew Wiley 60th with a 61.7 overall grade right now, just to let you know. So again, we don't necessarily blindly believe and trust and agree with Pro Football Focus on a lot of things, but Cornelius Lucas looked like our better right tackle against the Tennessee Titans compared to what we've seen from Andrew Wiley in recent weeks. So I don't know, man. This is going to be an interesting situation. Now I'm just assuming because Dan Quinn is loyal to a fault that we're more than likely going to see Andrew Wiley starting that right tackle for us against the New Orleans Saints. But I'm not going to lie. I think it's definitely something to consider. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Cornelius Lucas started the right tackle for us, and our offensive line looked great against a great defensive line. I don't know. We'll see. But now, before we move on to the second half of this video, this show is provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and if you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS for sure. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast because I know I do. And right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150, and they also have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process as well. Why not? Now let's take a look at some of the best that we can get into directly through their website. Well, how about the highest scoring team on Sunday? I mean, if you're looking right now, the Commanders have the 5th best odds to score the most points out of all of the teams that will play on Sunday. We're not talking about Thursday night. We're not talking about Monday night or anything like that. Just purely the teams that are playing on Sunday. Ahead of us are the Baltimore Ravens, the Detroit Lions, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Buffalo Bills. But if you believe that the Commanders can end up scoring more points against not only just an already fairly struggling New Orleans Saints defense, but also a very hurt New Orleans Saints defense, also a New Orleans Saints defense that doesn't have much to play for, they're probably already mailing it in at this point, especially some of the better veterans. The players that you would expect to be the better players are probably the ones that are like, man, I don't even feel like dealing with this right now. This season is a lost cause. If you feel like the Commanders can go out there and end up scoring more points than anybody else at those plus 800 odds, if you put $25 down on this bet, you can end up winning $200 by Sunday night if the Commanders do end up scoring more points against the Saints than any other team that plays on Sunday. But y'all already know, man. Y'all already know what I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to scream at y'all to please gamble responsibly every time. And again, before we move on, right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YOUTUBE150. And please, again, gamble responsibly. Now let's get to the second half of this video. All right, another interesting update. Apparently, practice squad, they consider him a running back right now. Not even wide receiver. Running back, Kazmir Allen, left the training facility in a walking boot. Let's just stop there. Kazmir Allen is listed as a running back on this team, not even a wide receiver. I didn't even realize that. That's crazy. It makes sense, though. They were trying that in the offseason, but I didn't know they went ahead and just made him into a full-blown running back, even by title and role. Either way, though, he was seen leaving the training facility in a walking boot yesterday. He hurt his ankle in practice on Wednesday, and he will be out for quite some time, Dan Quinn said, so expect at least multiple weeks. But now with that, Dan Quinn was asked by Ben Standig if they're considering elevating Allen or Michael Wiley at some point this season, you know, because those guys have speed. Even though Kazmir Allen is hurt right now, but even Michael Wiley as well, who's healthy, Dan Quinn even said yes. So maybe as a counter to what defenses are doing to us right now, maybe we're going to counter that by getting faster. So that's going to be really interesting. So when Kazmir Allen comes back healthy, when he recovers from whatever he's dealing with his ankle injury, maybe we'll see him elevated onto the actual roster, and maybe we'll see him play as somewhat of like a gadget Curtis Samuel style type of guy. We'll see how that goes, or maybe even a returner. We kind of are looking for a returner right now. Jamison Crowder coming back, you know, returning and practicing off of the injured reserve, even though I don't exactly expect him to play against the Saints. That's going to be a big boost to our return game. Maybe Kazmir Allen can help as well. Now, speaking of running backs, Austin Ekeler, I don't know if a lot of y'all noticed, but he was at practice a couple of days ago like you're seeing on the screen right now. He wasn't doing much, though. Not going to lie, he wasn't doing much, only just warming up with the team, but that's still a lot more than I expected at this point. I was starting to think of Austin Ekeler, Noah Brown, and Jonathan Allen as all guys that we will not see on the field for the Burgundy and Gold until 2025. And that's if either of them are still even on the team next year. But now, maybe both Austin Ekeler and Jonathan Allen could return late regular season or postseason. We'll see. That's really interesting. But I'm not going to lie, though. With the way that Austin Ekeler got concussed against the Cowboys and how it looked, like the way he got hit, the way his legs were wobbly, even after he got up from the concussion, the way he was walking to the sideline in the locker room. I mean, and then also on top of that, the fact that that was his second concussion this season alone, I was definitely in the boat of leaning towards just sitting him down for the rest of the season, no matter what he says. I don't care. Long term and outside of football health, as a priority above all else, man. I would love to have you on that field, but I'm more so worried about how you can interact and love your family and all of that type of stuff and be a great dad, be a great husband, and all of that type of stuff. But if he and the staff feel like he's good to return at some point in the near future, then I'm a root for him. But that just as a reminder, Eckler is currently on the injured reserve, and they haven't even started his 21-day practice window, so I'm not expecting him back until at least another couple of weeks, if that. Now moving on, you also have Jaden Daniels. Just some interesting updates. First of all, as you can see him practicing right now, Jaden Daniels is excited to return to the state of Louisiana, where he played his college ball for the last 2 years before we just drafted him. Remember, he won a Heisman Trophy with LSU, and he's excited to go back to Louisiana for the first time since then. He even said it himself, quote, "I'm excited to go back and play in Louisiana," unquote. He also said that the only real surprise so far, NFL wise, is just how long the season is and feels. I thought that was a pretty interesting quote as well. Also in his press conference, he called Noah Brown, quote, "an impactful player," unquote, and said of the wide receivers who will replace Brown that he's, quote, "confident in those guys to make plays," unquote. So he's really excited. Even with Noah Brown down, basically Jaden Daniels has the next man up mentality, and maybe he thinks that KJ Osborne will step up big time. Also, Jaden Daniels talked about the playoff push. He said, quote, "You can't hide from any of that. It's not an unknown, but you focus on the little things. Everybody wants to be a part of the playoffs. You can't focus on 4 weeks from now. You have to worry about the Saints and then move on to the next week," unquote. And that's basically the mentality that Dan Quinn has been screaming for this team to have, and I'm glad that Jaden Daniels echoes and agrees with Dan Quinn's mentality. Whether it's the right mentality or not, the priority for me is always for the team to be uniform, to be in solidarity together. Whatever they decide, they're all on the same page and have the same mentality and thinking and all of that, and same passion, all of that type of stuff. Whether I agree. I think that's the right mentality to have. But even if it wasn't, I'm just happy that this team is all on the same page. Right or wrong, they're all riding together. That's the most important thing to me. Moving on, Commanders offensive tackle Trent Scott is also getting his master's degree from Grambling State today. Yesterday technically. So that's why he's one of the 3 captains for this upcoming game against the New Orleans Saints. You have defensive tackle Jazon Johnny Newton. You have offensive tackle Cornelius Lucas, and then you also have Trent Scott. Now, with Cornelius Lucas being one of the team captains, maybe that's a sign that he will start at right tackle over Andrew Wiley. We'll see. That was interesting. But just to let you know, that's why Trent Scott is one of the 3 offensive tackles, because he's technically graduating from Grambling State, I think as of yesterday, as in Friday, December 13th. So Dan Quinn felt like it would make sense to make him, and honor him, give him a salute by making him a team captain coming into this game, even though I hope that Trent Scott never has to see the field unless we're just up by like 40 points and we're just throwing backups out there. That's the only reason we should ever see him on the field. Also, shouts out to Nicky Javala for this stat. It's been 22 years since the Commanders have won a road game right after their bye week. The last time was week 5 of the 2002 season when we defeated the Titans 31-14 at the Coliseum. That is absolutely insane that it's been 22 years since we've won an away game coming off of a bye week. That is absolutely insane and shameful. Also, last thing, really random, but I just felt like why not go ahead and throw it into this video since we're already bouncing around from topic to topic. But Braden Daniels has now signed to the Cowboys practice squad, and he's basically just going around the entire NFC East because of course he was with us at one point, then he went to the Eagles, now he's on the Cowboys. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up on the Giants next just to complete his NFC East tour, which is pretty random and interesting. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Please do not leave this video without leaving a like. If you made it this far in the video, I salute you back. I really appreciate you. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Marshon Lattimore making his debut, our kicker curse, our offensive tackle conundrum. Definitely let me know how you feel about that situation, because that's more of like a debate topic where I want to know where everybody lies, which side you fall on, and that one. Do you go ahead and bring back the starter and Andrew Wiley, or do you stick with what's already working right now? If it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality with Cornelius Lucas. Let me know how you feel about everything we discussed in this video. And of course, before we get up out of here, you gotta remember that this video was sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and please make sure y'all gamble responsibly. Please do that one if you don't do anything else, and I really appreciate y'all. Again, leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.